Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. As we are dedicated tonight, special by Avigdor Fried, who's it's his mother's yahrzeit, Malka Bas Moshe. Her neshama should have an aliyah. She should have a lichtige Gan Eden, and be a melitza yeshara for her family, for all of us, and all of Klal Yisrael. We want to also take the opportunity to wish Avigdor a Tzeitzchem L'Shalom as he goes back in Yetzer Hashem later this week to Eretz Yisrael, where he lives a good part of the time. It should be a good trip and a wonderful, wonderful experience till we see you from Eretz Yisrael. Avigdor said that he's going to make sure to get up early in the morning and join us. So remember, we used to have that Akiva who made pizza, who came every night from Eretz Yisrael for quite a while. But Avigdor is not going to make pizza. We are also co-sponsored by the Rezepkowitz family in honor of their parents. We're co-sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Eddie Chazan, Lefu Shalema for Shoshana Bas Panina, Simon Bas Rachel, co-sponsored by Benjamin Rivlin, Lina Nishmas, Yitzhak Ben Avram Yehuda Levi, by Shelley Zeitlin for his children, Eli and Orit and Ora, by Ber Kolwasser for Shalema for Meshmeh ben Esther Fadl and Domeir ben Chaya Gittel, and Akos Hatoy for the Shir, and by Shalom Fogel, Lila Nishmas, Yaakov Yosef ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam bas Gad, and Yosef ben Sion ben Yaakov Zev, that the neshama should have an aliyah. We welcome in on this wonderful night, Saba and Yaakov Warman. We welcome in Irving Fishbaum, Ruben Pollack, Dov Salkowitz, Michal, Shelley, Avigdor, Yisrael Fisher, Stephen Holtzman, Rabbi Kranz, Chaim Lerner, Shalom Fogel, Marshall Castle, Dr. Block, Shimon Klein, Dr. Guy, Mary Cement, Yitzi Fuchs, Nachman Chapel, who are delighted he's home already, Ilya Shutman, Moshe Lehman, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Avram Rezepkowitz, Yitzi Muller, Abe Arbach, and Eddie Chazan, 28 strong, just starting the evening. And here in Shul, we have Ruvain Shannet, Chaim Kramer, Barish Gesseman, and we are holding we're holding by Ravina, not Ravina, by Hahu Gavra. Hahu Gavra, Avram Shenkman, has just come on. We're holding by Hahu Gavra, 5 lines from the bottom of Ayin Vav Amid Beis. Hahu Gavra, 5 lines from the bottom of Ayin Vav Amid Beis. Hahu Gavra, the mitzamtzama l'chiyusei dechavrei b'shimsha. So what happened was his marshal took Avigdor's lion, not lion, let's say his ox, and held them in the sun until it overheated and died. Umeisa. Ravina Mechayev, Ravina says marshal is Chayev, Ravacha Barapapa Potter. Ravina Mechayev, Ravina says he's Chayev, Kal V'chaimer. Omar Reitzayach, a killer is only executed if he did it with premeditation. We don't make unwitting like willful. An accidental like purposeful. We said that if you hold somebody in the fire, or hold somebody in the water, you're chayiv. Nezikin, damages, where we say, Odamud Lailam, a man is always responsible. Surely Marshall should be liable for holding Avigdor's axe in the sun. Rav Acha Barav Poiter, Rav Acha Barav exempts Amar of Sharshir, my time of Davud Abba. What's the reason of the father of my father, the Poiter? Because Amakra, the pasuk says, as we welcome in Naftali Jamlin and we welcome in Gedalia Engel, just joining us here. Good to have you, Gedalia, as we're holding 4 lines from the top of Ayin Zayin Amar Aleph. My time of Davud Abba the Paiter. Amakra, the pasuk says, Mois Yumas Hamaka Reitzeachu. He's surely put to death, the one who does the smiting. He's a murderer. Only it's a miyat, only by murder you're chayiv for confining one's place, either holding him in the fire or holding him in the water. But Marshall gets away with it again. Sorry, Avigdor. Amarava. Now here, Marshall, he's, what can I tell you? Kaftoi, if he ties up Chatzkel, Omeis Barav, and Chatzkel dies out of hunger. He tied him up, he trussed him up, he knows a lot of knots, and Chatzkel died from hunger, Potter.
He didn't want my hot dogs.
So Marshall is Potter because the death by famine came later on. Marshall wasn't doing anything to him at the time, and therefore he's Potter. Very big Kiddush. V'amarava kaftoi b'chama, if he tied him up in the sun, omeis, and he dies. Betzina of a mace in the freezing cold, and he dies, chayiv. The reason is because at the time that he tied him up, already the terrible danger was present. But in the case of the hunger, the guy just had 3 pizzas. The guy just had, Marshall fed him 3 plates of chili. Right? So at the time, there was no danger apparent. However, therefore, says the Gemara, if he ties him up, and the forecast says that it's going to be 108 the next day, Soif Kama Lavai, or Soif Tzina Lavai, the danger is not present at the time, Potter. V'amar Rava Koftoi Lifnei Ari Potter. Now here Rashi says an interesting thing. What happened was Chatzkel was in the presence of the lion. So he was in the danger anyway. It seems to be that Marshall is a lion charmer. So Marshall wasn't in danger. He knows how to, make noises that the lion shouldn't bother him. But Chatzkel was a goner anyway. And therefore the fact that he tied him up in front of the lion, that didn't cause him to die any differently, so he's Potter. But the Fnei Yitushin, this is very interesting, he tied him up in front of a swarm of gnats. Now, if the person wasn't tied, he could swat away the gnats with his hand and save himself. But now that he tied him up, he died, so there, Marshall is Chayiv. Rav Ashi says, even then Marshall is Potter. Nami Potter. Why? Because Hani Ozley, the gnats that were there when Marshall tied him up, those gnats left. Vahani Osu, and the ones that came were different gnats, they weren't present, so the danger wasn't present at the time that Marshall tied him up, and therefore Marshall is Potter. Imar. Kafa alav gigis. I'm telling you, Marshall, he's just bloodthirsty. There was a lead cauldron, and Marshall turned the lead cauldron on top of Chatzkel, and Chatzkel suffocated to death. Or upara alav maziva. Chatzkel was sleeping. It was minus 80 outside, and he uncovered the ceiling, and the guy died. So it's a machlokes. Rav and Reb Zera, Chadam chayiv, v'chadam potter. One says Marshall is chayiv, one says Marshall is potter. Barry says Marshall is chayiv for sure, and I wouldn't blame him.
He was my buddy.
We're talking Chayav Misa?
Chayav Misa, execution.
Okay. He's certainly Chayav Nazikin of some sort.
It means execution. We finally rid of Marshall.
Isn't there an Indian of inevitability here?
So we see that there's another variable besides inevitability, that the danger has to be present. So to stayim the Rava who Amar Potter. Let's say that it's Rava who says that Marshall is Potter. The Amar Rava kafta yumeis berav Potter. You tie him up and he dies in hunger, he's Potter. So here also, when he puts the cauldron on his head, and eventually he suffocates, and he opens up the roof, and eventually he freezes, he's Potter. Says the Gemara, no, Adarabah, Tistayim the Reb Zera who Dama Potter. That's Reb Zera who says he's Potter. Dama Reb Zera, Haiman da Ayla Lechavre Bebeisa de Shesha. He puts him in a marble house. Now this marble house was sealed completely, so air didn't get in. The adlikle shraga, and then he lit a candle in the room, and that sucked the air out. Umeis, and the person died. Chai. Now the implication over here is only because he lit the candle. But if you just put him into the room that was absent of air, he's potter. Time at adlikle shraga. Haloya adlikle shraga loy. So that would be like covering with the lead cauldron, where there isn't air, and he dies. So you see, Reb Zera would hold that he's potter. Says the Gemara, Imre Hasam b'loy shraga. Loy maschel havlo b'shate. There, without the light, there was not present a restriction of air at the time. So again, it wasn't a present danger at the time. Hacha b'loy shraga, here in covering him with the narrow cauldron, even without the fire, nami maschel havla b'shata, it's already constricted and dank and suffocating right away, and Reb Zera would hold that he's chayiv. Now, again, as we start the next Gemara, mamish this Gemara really speaks of Marshall. We could feel Marshall's presence. Amar Rava, Dachfai lebar. Marshall puts his chatzkel into a pit, and V'sulam babar, there was a ladder to get out of the pit. Uba achar v'silkai. But then Barry took away the ladder. Oh, he took away the ladder. Now the guy's in trouble. Or v'afilu hu kadam v'silkai. Even if Marshall goes ahead and takes away the ladder after pushing Chatzkel in, potter. Why? Because when he pushed him in the pit, there was a ladder there. taking away the ladder is considered just a grumma. So either Barry who took away the ladder or Marshall who took away the ladder, that's only considered a grumma. The be'inna deshadye, when he threw him in, yachalalisu, he was able to get out. And again, in the same vein of grumma, this is really interesting. V'amar Rav Zorak Chaitz, if you shot an arrow, you shot an arrow, Marshall shot an arrow at Barry, the twist b'yada. But Barry had a big shield, no sweat. Uba echad v'natlei, and Eddie snatched the shield, and then the arrow hit him, and, it was curtains. Va'afilu hu kadam v'nitlei. Even if Marshall shot the arrow, and then he ran over and snatched away the shield, pater. Why? Because taking away the shield is only a grumma. At the time that Marshall shot the arrow, it wasn't a deathly, murderous blow, because Barry was holding the shield. Afterwards, when he removes the shield, that's only considered a grumma. Pater, to be in the shadyabe, because at the time that he was shooting the arrow, mifsik piska gire, his arrow was interrupted because there was a shield. Now here's another case of a grumma. Amar Rava Zarek Beichaitz, Marshall shot an arrow at Barry, v'samanim biyadai, but Barry had the correct medicine. It was Marshall, when he shoots an arrow, they're poison tipped. They're tipped with poison. Don't start up with Marshall.
Well, I usually dip my arrows in bourbon, not poison.
Well, anyway, that's what you told the police. But they were tipped. But
Wait a second, though. The grumma is very.
Wait 1 second.
What if
the arrow was tipped with poison, and Marshall shot at his. Marshall is not a good archer. That's why he tips it with poison. He shot at his foot. However, but there was no problem because Barry has the right antidote. Barry knows Marshall's poison, and he had the right antidote. But Eddie came and scattered the antidote. Again, the scattering of the antidote is only a grumma. Not only that, if Marshall shot the arrow and then ran over and threw the antidote in the incinerator, why? Because when he shot him with the tipped arrows of poison, he was able to cure himself. So therefore, and the removal of the poison, that's only considered a grumma. As we welcome in Michal Avram, we are holding on Daf Ayin Zayin Amud Beis 77b, and we are holding 12 lines from the top.
Can I ask a question?
Omer of Ashi.
You open for a question right now?
Omer of Ashi, not only is he not chayiv if he shoots the arrow and Barry has the antidote, but afilu samanim b'shuk, even if the antidote was available, there was a drugstore right there, and they had the antidote, so it wasn't a blow that was a murderous blow, because the antidote is available. Says the Gemara, but what about if Marshall shoots the arrow and he gets the antidote, but at the time that Marshall shot the arrow, there was no antidote? What happens if it happened to be that Barry is a lucky guy? It happens to be that somebody suddenly passed by who had the antidote. What's the din? Amalei, so the Gemara says, look, you're right. Marshall is a dastardly murderer. But Lamaisa is, it wasn't a homicide. Hariyatzim Bezdin Zakai. He goes out of Bezdin innocent because at the end of the day, Barry got the antidote, and therefore it wasn't murder. Okay, what do you want to ask me, Marshall?
This whole Grumma thing is a little bit shaky because if I shoot the arrow with or without a shield, say without a shield, at the time I shot the arrow, he was still alive, there was no danger. The danger happened as the arrow would enter the person that I shot. So it's very much, there's no danger present when I release that arrow, and it seems to be similar to the other cases. It should be putter all the way along.
That is the din. The din is it's putter. That's the reason. It's a grama, and therefore it's putter.
So even pulling a trigger on a gun and killing
The arrow
somebody.
itself, so someone shoots an arrow, and he doesn't have a shield, Marshall wants to say that he should be putter for that.
No.
Right, because at the time I shot the arrow, he was fine.
Oh no! So there is a halacha that for your koyach rishon, for the result of your direct strength, you're chayiv, and that's not a grum.
Because to me it sounds like it's inevitable. It's a seek ratio is what came to my mind.
Right.
You shoot the arrow, something's going to happen.
Right. So there you're chayiv. But if the guy has a shield, and then you remove the shield,
The whole thing sounds shaky. It doesn't seem like a very solid Gemara here. It seems like it's on very shaky ground.
why?
Because it's an inevitability, but the danger wasn't present at the beginning, so you're putter. To take the ladder out when you throw the guy in the hole, you know he's going to die down there. It's inevitable. So whether you take you pull the ladder out, whoever pulls it out is the killer. But I threw him in there initially. So I'm confused.
Well,
His shoots a gun and the guy has a bulletproof vest nearby. You're going to say he's Potter? He could have taken the bulletproof vest.
no, there he won't have the time.
Well, the arrow's got no time either. There's no time to run forward and pull that shield away. It's a fallacy that can never happen. But
That was my question. How could the perpetrator shoot the arrow and then run and pull the shield away?
Well, okay, so yeah, if you're
I'm not that fast.
right, if you ate 3 plates of chili, you can't do that. But if you're
If I did 3 plates of chili, I'd be there in a heartbeat. There's no question.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't the arrow, you want to kill the guy, that's why you shouldn't the arrow.
anyway, it from the fact that the Gemara says it seems to be that you could do it, that you could shoot an arrow. Maybe he was a person who knew how to shoot with an angle. In other words, it used to be that the archers, they shot up and it came down, and they knew how to do that. So it had an arc. And by the time it had the arc, you were able to run and pull away the shield.
And hence the name archers, I guess.
Okay.
For the arc.
The article has a note that says the person had a string attached to the shield. So as soon as you shot the arrow, he pulled on the string and that took the shield out of the
I was
guy's
thinking
hand.
of that also.
Oh.
Interesting.
Marshall, have you ever...
No, but that's not Rashi's pshat.
No, it's
Right. No, that's not Rashi's pshat. It's the Meiri's pshat.
Yes.
The
Exactly.
Meiri's pshat. But so I'm telling you how Rashi, probably pshat and Rashi is like I explained, that there were archers that knew how to shoot on an arc, where they shot up and then it went down and hit the person. So in the meantime, you're able to run and snatch away the shield. Now, V'amar Rava. Now the next Gemara, it sounds like billiards. It's a mixture of billiards and dodgeball. What happened is a person, they had a game where a person threw something at a wall, a ball, and on the rebound, I threw the ball at the wall. On the rebound, Shelley caught it, and then he threw it at me and tried to hit me. Right? So I tried that the ball should go far, so that while it's in flight, I could run away far, that Shelley wouldn't be able to hit me. So the Amarava Zorak Sror B'Kaisel. In this case, I throw a rack at the wall, v'chazra la'achure, and it rebounds, v'harga, and it kills a person. It kills chatzkel. So chayiv. In that case, I'm chayiv, because it's considered still my koyach rishon. It's considered still my direct force when it rebounds off the wall. That's the chiddush over here. It's still considered koychay. V'tanatuna kegayin elu ha-mesachakin b'kader, like those that played with a ball. This is dangerous playing. Shahargu, that when it rebounded off the wall, it killed the person. Nerogin, then the one who threw it is executed. B'shoigeg goylem. If he did it unwittingly, he's exiled. B'shoigeg goylem pshita. That's obvious. That's a case of killing him b'shoigeg. B'meizid nerogin itztuchle. You see, because we know that when you give hasra, when you give warning, you have to be able to give a definite warning that if you do this, you're going to be chayiv. Over here, it doesn't sound like it's a definite hasra. Do you know that it's going to rebound off the wall and kill the person? Mao the same hasra safiku. It's a doubtful hasra. Miyema dahadra. Who says that it's going to rebound and kill the person? You can't tell him. You should know that if you do this, you're going to be chayiv. I mean, how do you know that it's going to rebound and kill the person? Kamash malon. If you're very good at this, right? A person, you tell somebody, if you serve that serve at the person, you're gonna get executed, right? So if you're a very good tennis player and you serve 130 miles an hour, and the guy is sitting there like a sitting duck, right? You can give asra vaday. That's not asra.
That's what you use for a tennis ball.
That's not asra suffolk.
But the fact that he's playing in a game, isn't he like Michael on what's going to happen?
Obviously, this was a game gone bad. This was a game, he says, we're going to settle this now. And he takes the guy out.
I think this actually happened years ago, that there was a boy that went to catch a ball and he missed his glove and it hit him and it killed him. Well, that wasn't intentional, but...
Well, that's a case of shogeg.
Right. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
No, I don't remember it, but I think I remember that the guy's first name was Marshall.
You should see how fast I pitch.
So anyway, Tani Rav Tachlifa B'Marava Kamei Rabbi Yavo. Excuse me. Tani Rav Tachlifa B'Marava Kamei Rabbi Yavo. A spin on this game, this murderous game. Kigain Elu HaMesachakim B'Kader. Those that throw the ball. Shahorgu Toich Arba Amas. If the rebound was within 4 amas of the wall, potter. Chutz l'arba amas chayiv. So the Gemara really doesn't understand, how could you make a distinction? It depends how much he wanted it to rebound. If we're saying that you could be precise, so how could you say less is potter and more is chayiv? It depends whether he wanted it to rebound less or rebound more. If his plan is that it should rebound short, then I feel a person even less he should be chayiv. If that wasn't his plan, then I feel tuva nami. Even if it was more, if that's not his plan, he's not chayiv. It has to be premeditated. So here the Gemara says the way the game is played, as we explained, is that the person wants to throw it and it should go as far as possible. And therefore we're saying when a person is playing in the normal way, where the plan is that it should go far, if it goes short, then that wasn't his ratzon, and therefore he's potter. Amalei stam mesachekim bekader, kama de'aylei tvei, the further it goes, minach nechalei. So the Gemara says, so you remember I told Marshall that shooting an arrow is koyach rishon. So do you mean to tell me that a rebound is considered koychay? Lememra de kahai gavna koychayu? Now we're going to go into whether rebound, when you do a rebound shot in billiards, right? You hit it off the side wall, is that considered koychay? V'ramini hamekadesh. If somebody, we know that in order to make the special water known as meichatas, that purifies a person that's tamei meis, right? If let's say Nachman went to a levaya and became tamei meis, he has to have sprinkled on him from the ashes, water with ashes of the paraduma, on the 3rd and the 7th day. That's the purification ritual. Now, in order to make that mixture, you have to put the ash into mayim chayim, into live stream water, right? Live water. So it's that process is called kiddush. So a mekadesh, if he was putting in the ash, v'nafal kiddush al yadai, and the ash fell onto the side of his hand, oya al atzad, or onto the side of the trough that held the water, v'acha kach nafal l'shoykes, and from there it went into the water in the trough. Puzzle. So you see, a rebound is not considered koychay. If first hits the side of his hand and then goes into the water, or the side of the trough and then goes into the water, it's not considered putting it directly into the water. So you see, it's not koychay. Says, well, no, there it's talking about where he dropped it very soft. So it fell on the side of his hand, and then afterwards slipped in the water, but not through his kayach. Or afterwards it slipped from the side of the trough into the water, but not from his rebound. Where it just dribbled in, not from his enochanami. If he threw it hard and it rebounded from the side of the trough into the water, that would be good. Tajma, the Gemara gives another case. Here, a needle came into contact with something dead, a dead person. So the needle had to be purified with the meichatas, with the water of lustration, on the 3rd and the 7th day. So machad she'yanesuna ala cheres. If you had a needle that was placed on an earthenware vessel, v'hiza aleha, and you sprayed the water on it, safek ala machad hiza, you're not sure if it went on the needle, or safek ala cheres hiza, or if it went on the earthenware, umitza aleha, and rebounded from the earthenware onto the needle, so haza asay pasa. But either way, it should be good, because the rebound should also be considered kaichai. Rav Chinana by Yehuda Mishmei de Rav, don't read it mitzah, matzah itmar. We found the water on the needle, but we're not sure, did the water go straight on the needle, or did the water go on the earthenware, and then afterwards it was on a slope, and afterwards it slid down onto the needle, but it wasn't kaichai, and again, it wasn't a direct force of the rebound, so therefore it's possible. Itmar. Now here again, I don't know, Marshall, you're bloodthirsty. Amra Papa, Haiman de Kofte Lechavre. What happened is he tied up Chatzkel, and then Va'ashkel Alei Bitka Demaya. And then he opened up a dam, and the water rushed on Chatzkel and killed him. So, Gira Didehi, the opening up of the dam, that's his direct action, Omechayim, and he's Chayim. But that's only the first force of the water. If, however, the first force of the water didn't drown him, but later on the water went further and it ended up drowning Chatzkel, then Marshall is potter. So Hani Mili B'Kach Rishon, the first force of the water, when he opens the dam, the first rush of water that comes out, Marshall's Chayiv. Aval B'Kach Sheni, but if afterwards the water continued to go and eventually it reached Chatzkel and it killed him, Grama Ba'almu, that's a Grama, and Marshall lives to make mischief another day.
They took this man,
Baruch Hashem.
they took this man and buried him in the seashore, his head above the sand.
Right.
High tide is going out, now the tide comes in. The first rush of water,
He would be Chayiv. He would be Chayiv. That's correct. He would be Chayiv. I think Marshall did that once. Rabbi said, I did the Mishnah Yomis already. Again, we remember tonight we learned special Le'ili Nishmas Malka Bas Moshe. Avigdor, did I know her?
I imagine so. She's gone, let's see, she's gone 35 years.
Yes, so I did know her, right? I did know her.
Briefly, but
I did know her, yeah.
at the end, she wasn't well. She was actually not well at all. She had some strokes. It was not schmuck.
Where did she live?
Originally, we grew up in Bensonhurst.
But towards the end of her life, where did she live?
Well, she was actually in Golden Gate.
She was in the Golden Gate.
Wow. Yeah, they gave tremendous care over there, Rabbi. But we thought very, very good. Excellent.
No, Neshama should have a lichtig Gan Eden. Are you going to be here tomorrow night yet?
Tomorrow night, yes, I think, yeah. Let's see.
Good.